What's crappin' it? Welcome to Under the Foreskin, a show dedicated to the happenings of the SJU Misfits Fantasy Football League. My name is Kyle. I'm the head of football operations for the Potomac Pretenders, the voice of Under the Foreskin, and of course, the co-commissioner with Alex Dunn. Pretty mediocre show, much like my Pretenders, lined up for you today. We got Week 10 results, Waiver Wire Wednesday, which was pretty quiet this week, the trading block, and this is actually a special Saturday edition of Under the Foreskin as the trading block concluded yesterday. Not a lot of moves as the trading block came and went. Quite a few moves earlier in the week, but none right at the deadline. So putting off the show till Saturday did not make a lot of sense, but hindsight's 2020. And after the trading block, we will get into the picks for Week 11. Some big games this week with some playoff implications. We'll also dive into the playoff, where everyone sits right now. So Week 10, the Waco Wrinkle Beast led it off with a victory over the Flint Tropics, 110-84. Sidney Rice, Tony Gonzalez, Chris Johnson, and Drew Brees, led the team with 17, 25, 19, and 21 points respectively. And for the Flint Tropics, their newly acquired Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, 50 points of their 84. So obviously the rest of the team struggled to break the double-digit mark. Lots of 5s, 4s, 3s, and 2s for the Flint Tropics in the loss. The Waco Wrinkle Beast moved to 4-6, and the Flint Tropics fall to 3-7. Next up, we have the Gnawbone Butte Pirates taking on the Sausage Wallets in the battle of 7-3 and 6-2, so second and third place. The Butte Pirates came away with the win in this one. I guess you could call it an upset. 115-77. 21 points for Freddie Jackson, but goes down as his brain sloshed against the side of his skull. They call that a concussion in the business. Andre Brown, again, overachieves. Fourth straight week of overachieving with 14 points this week over, I think, a projected 5 or 6. Vultures, another touchdown from Ahmad Bradshaw, which, for the Tallahassee Trouser Snake hurts, as I know they're trying to deal Ahmad Bradshaw leading up to the trading deadline. For the Sausage Wallets, with Percy down, not the lineup you're used to seeing for the Sausage Wallets. Had Redmond and Dwyer for the Steelers playing and starting in the running back slots. And, of course, Donald Avery was his wide receiver number 2. So, kind of the B squad out there for the Sausage Wallets this week. Sacrifice a loss. Hopefully Percy gets better and a back emerges, not named Rashard Mendenhall, in Pittsburgh for the Sausage Wallets. The Duluth Draft Dodgers took on the Poughkeepsie Pandas and lost this game. The Pandas 116 over the Dodgers 74. Matty Ice and Dez go for 41, but no one else breaks into double digits for the Draft Dodgers. And a big game out of Jimmy Graham, which I know Vice President of Football Operations for the Poughkeepsie Pandas has been hoping for. 27 points. CJ Spiller, another good game. More importantly, he's now the lead running back in Poughkeepsie. And as always, A.J. Green, solid, scores another touchdown. Seems like a broken record every week. I'm talking about A.J. Green and him scoring touchdowns. Sioux City Smugglers traveled to Buffalo for a tough road game. The Buffalo Armadillos are the Sioux City Smugglers' nemesis. If you remember back to last year, they knocked the number 1 seeded Smugglers out of the playoffs. And I believe they also beat them towards the end of the season. Well, that pattern continued this week with the Buffalo Dillos handing the Smugglers their first loss, 100-93. A donut out of Jay Cutler proved to be the difference in this one. No one in 20 points for the Sioux City Smugglers, and above 20 points for the first time this season, I believe. And for the Buffalo Armadillos, they sent out Cecil Shorts, Danny Amendola, and a guy by the name of Golden Tate. Those three together scored 43 points, and that was enough to seal the victory. Buffalo Armadillos, big win to move to 5-5 and stay in the hunt for the playoffs. And the Smugglers fall to 9-1, minor speed bump on their way to the number 1 seed. The Hollywood Hotties travel to Tallahassee, and that was my cat that just meowed, to take on the Trouser Snakes. In the lowest scoring match of the week, the Trouser Snakes won 69-54. For the Hollywood Hotties, 7 out of 9, less than projected. For the Trouser Snakes, the cat's meowing like crazy. For the Trouser Snakes, Reggie Bush, Vincent Jackson, Ahmad Bradshaw, and Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick, were projected for 51 points. They only scored 16 this week. And you'd think with those scores being put up that the Tallahassee Trouser Snakes would lose, but They came away with the victory by 15. Thanks to Roddy White and Matt Prater in the Baltimore D, who combined for 43 points. Trouser Snakes moved to 6-4 and are in 5th place. And for the Hollywood Hotties, they slipped to 4-6 and in 10th place. The Crapstone Prairie Dogs took on the Chernobyl Tin Whiskers and came away with another victory. That is 6 out of the last 7, I believe, for the Crapstone Prairie Dogs. After starting 0-3, I believe they are 6-1 in their last 7. AP 26 points, Marshawn Lynch 19, Matt Forte 3 points. So the three-headed monster was not as monsterish as usual, but still good days out of 2 out of 3 and a pretty solid backfield there in Crapstone. Torrey Smith carried the slack for Matt Forte, 18 points. They do lose Big Ben Roethlisberger this week to some kind of freaky rib injury that could stab his aorta and kill him. He would be missed, I suppose. Not by everyone, but by most. For the Chernobyl Tin Whiskers, Andy Dalton, another big day, 29 points, 4 touchdown passes. Everyone else stayed under 10 points, though, with the exception of his defense. Chernobyl 3-7 and Crapstone 6-4 now. Last game of the week, my Potomac Pretenders took on the last place going into the week, Bakersfield Border Collies, and they fell 101-80. Tannehill and Miami for my Pretenders combined for 3 points, and the same positions on the other side of the matchup. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Denver defense combined for 46 points. There's your difference. Had a pretty good week out of a lot of my core players, but those two just killed me, Tannehill and Miami. So I fall to 5-5 in 7th place, and the Border Collies rise up to 11th place, 3-7. The Baton Rouge Border Collies get their first win, snapping a 6-game losing streak. First win in Baton Rouge, pardon me. All 5 of the Potomac Pretenders' losses have come when my opponent scores more than their average score all season, and that was once again the case this week. Waiver Wire Wednesday, really the only player that got doled out this week, Denario Alexander. $5 to the Buffalo Armadillos after a big game against... I don't remember who he played, but he had a big game, and the Buffalo Armadillos picked him up. Another scrappy wide receiver to add to the Buffalo Armadillos squad. The trading block. Some big moves between last week and this week. My Potomac Pretenders traded the cornerstone of the franchise, Matthew Stafford, a perennial keeper for me and my one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, and Ryan Broyles was also part of the deal, to the Flint Tropics for Denarius Thomas and Felix Jones. For me, a little help at running back as McFadden and MJD start to come back from their injuries. And for the Flint Tropics, a rebuilding move. Matthew Stafford will be $4 next year for the Flint Tropics, and that's a good top 10 quarterback for a bottom 10 price. Next trade, Deshaun Jackson, Jake Locker left the Tallahassee Trouser Snakes and traveled to Flint, and they picked up Tony Romo for those two. For the Tallahassee Trouser Snakes, losing Michael Vick this week, it was a must to pick up a quarterback. Tony Romo is his guy. Not a bad trade for both teams. Gnawbone Butte Pirates, Joe Flacco and Tywan Jones were shipped over to the Sioux City Smugglers for Jay Cutler and Chris Ivory. I don't really have anything to say about this trade. I was offered Joe Flacco from Roger. Respectfully declined as Flacco not my favorite player in the NFL. Next trade, Crapstone Prairie Dogs, big move. Traded the injured Big Ben, his backup Matt Schaub, and Matt Forte, a solid keeper in our league for, I believe, $19, to the Duluth Draft Dodgers for Matty Ice and Des Bryant. You know, for Crapstone, this replaces his quarterback woes with Big Ben going down and also adds a wide receiver to a pretty thin core. But he does trade away his three-headed monster with Matt Forte heading to the Dodgers. For the Dodgers, a nice rebuilding move in Matt Forte. Next year at the beginning of the season, he will have a #1 running back, which he hasn't really been able to say all this year. So good move for the Dodgers and for the Crapstone Prairie Dogs. Also some value in Big Ben as a keeper, as he was a pretty cheap quarterback this year in our auction. Last trade of the season, pardon me. The Potomac Pretenders, my team, traded their favorite wide receiver in Hakeem Nicks over to the Waco Wrinklebees for some sort of quarterback so that I don't have to start Ryan Tannehill anymore. I got Josh Freeman for Hakeem Nicks. A little more than I wanted to pay, but desperate times in Potomac call for desperate measures. So the playoff situation, how do we sit? Of course, the Sioux City Smugglers are on top, 9-1, followed by the Sausage Wallets and the Gnawbone Butte Pirates at 2-3. Crapstone Prairie Dogs leading the 6-4 teams of them and the Tallahassee Trouser Snakes. That's 4-5 seed. Poughkeepsie Pandas snaking out the last guaranteed playoff spot for records. In our league, we do top 6 gain entry via record, and the 7th and 8th are wild cards, and it goes to the most points scored. So the Potomac Pretenders and the Buffalo Armadillos, although tied with the Poughkeepsie Pandas, currently on the outside looking in with 875 points scored for the Potomac Pretenders and 863 for the Buffalo Armadillos. That trails the 932 of the Waco Wrinklebeasts and the 901 of the Hollywood Hotties. So those two teams would be the wild cards at the moment. Following them, Baton Rouge Border Collies and Chernobyl Tin Whiskers. Both are going to need huge weeks the next couple weeks and some major collapses by teams ahead of them. And in full rebuilding stage now are the Duluth Draft Dodgers and the Flint Tropics, both at 3-7, but with low scoring point totals. Let's get into picks for, what are we on now? Week 11, I believe. The Potomac Pretenders take on the Hollywood Hotties in a big playoff battle to kind of stabilize position going into the playoffs. I like the Pretenders this week. We'll see what Josh Freeman does for me. Felix is going to benefit from DeMarco Murray being officially out. And Denarius Moore versus New Orleans, a nice wide receiver to have in my pocket this week. Hopefully he performs like everyone is saying they think he will. For the Hotties, Tim Brady versus Indiana. No DeMarco, like I said, so the Hotties still struggling, missing their #1 running back. And then the San Francisco versus Chicago D. Jay Cutler not sounding like it's going to play, so I think it'll be Jason Campbell. We'll see how he does versus the 49ers on the road in prime time. Crapstone Prairie Dogs travel to Waco. And really, bye-week blues for both these teams super late in the season, but that's just how it shook out. For Crapstone, Marshawn Lynch, AP, Blair Walsh, and Kendall Wright all on bye. So Daryl Richardson and Pierre. I don't even know who that is. At running back, I don't know if that's Pierre Thomas. I don't think it is. I don't know who the other running back is for the Crapstone Prairie Dogs. Let me look here because I'm curious. Oh, yeah, it is Pierre Thomas. Those are the two starting running backs for the Crapstone Prairie Dogs this week. For Waco, Chris Johnson on bye this week. Sidney Rice on bye. Kenny Britt, and now Hakeem Nicks, newly acquired. All 4 on bye. I like Drew Brees more than I like Matt Ryan this week. I'm going to go Waco Wrinklebeasts in the upset, but I think it could be a pretty low-scoring game, which is going to mean the Waco Wrinklebeasts are going to need to win this one. Baton Rouge. I keep saying Bakersfield. Baton Rouge Border Collies. RG3 back from bye. T-Rich back from bye. Stephen Ridley, nice matchup. And Reggie Wayne. You think of those 4 players, you don't think of a team that's 3-7, but Jason's Baton Rouge Border Collies could easily be 6-4. Lost some close games this week. They take on the Chernobyl Tin Whiskers in the battle of 3-7s. Can Jordy stay healthy? Will Mendenhall be okay? A lot of question marks in Chernobyl. I'm going Border Collies this week. I don't think it'll even be close, to be honest. Border Collies looking like a sure thing. On from one sure thing to another, the Sioux City Smugglers take on the Tallahassee Trouser Snakes. For the Smugglers, the scary lineup is back. Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Marshall, Mike Wallace, Doug Martin, Arian Foster, Rob Gronkowski, and Jamal Charles lead their starting 7. Pretty scary in a 14-team league to be walking into that roster. For Tallahassee, Tony Romo starting. But not a lot of other things going on. It's gonna be a miracle if Tallahassee finishes this game within 20 points. I'm going Smugglers. Duluth Draft Dodgers take on the Buffalo Armadillos. Some of the worst matchups I've seen for two teams. Dodgers running backs: Rashard Jennings at Houston, Matt Forte at San Francisco, Vic Ballard at New England. Ouch. For the Buffalo Armadillos, what is Jack going to do with Golden Tate on bye? He's going to start Denario Alexander and cross his fingers. Good pass D's. Cecil plays Houston. Amendola plays the Jets, although he's kind of matchup proof. And Denario Alexander plays Denver this week, who usually shuts down receivers pretty well. I'm going Dodgers. Duluth Draft Dodgers in the upset this week. I think Jack's going to fall. Have a little regress to the mean after the big win against the Smugglers last week. Gnawbone Butte Pirates take on the Poughkeepsie Pandas. Good matchups for the Butte Pirates. Marcel Reese, nice waiver wire pickup, could be great against New Orleans. For the Poughkeepsie Pandas, CJ Spiller is now the man in Buffalo. Peyton, I think, will torch the San Diego defense, hopefully all to Denarius Moore. And Jimmy Graham at Oakland could have a big game. I'm going to go Poughkeepsie, although I think this is going to be the closest game of the week, and it's a tough game to pick. Last game of the week, the Flint Tropics take on the Poland Sausage Wallets. Jonathan Stewart and Daniel Thomas haven't taken, lead roles in their respective teams yet. Those are the two starting running backs for the Flint Tropics this week. Going to be tough. The Sausage Wallets with Chicago's defense, you never know what they're going to do. Alex Smith could still be a little woozy when he takes the helm on Monday night. Otherwise, besides Chicago's D, it's going to be up to Andrew Luck against New England, I believe the Colts play this week. Julio Jones takes on Arizona. Who knows if he's going to play? I've heard he's got a bad ankle or shin or something. And LaShawn McCoy takes on Washington. So could be some points there. He's going to need performances out of at least 3 out of those 4, I think, to stave off Flint and the Matthew Stafford-led Flint Tropics with Calvin Johnson. I'm going to go Sausage Wallets. Another closer game than you'd probably think, considering it's 7-3 versus 3-7. But that's just how I see it. I'm going to take the Sausage Wallets with the victory. That's it this week. Follow us on Twitter at SJU Misfits and on YouTube, youtube.com/SJU and Misfits. Until next week, good luck on the fantasy football field. We will revisit, the current playoff situation next week and go over the usual topics in next week's show. Hopefully we can get a guest on. If you'd like to be on Under the Foreskin, please contact me at my phone number. Good luck out there this week, and take care, everybody.